Okay, thank you very much for all to join us here today. So today we're going to be talking about burnout and how institutions can actually do something about it. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So just let me know when you're seeing it so we can begin with this conversation. So here it is. Okay, I think that we are seeing it.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so thank you again so much for joining us here today. We are very excited about this webinar and to talk about things that are actually happen to our instructors and to the institutions in education. Um, okay, so I think someone is with, okay. So I'm going to introduce our speakers today. We have here Latoya Devson and Jenny Nichols, and that goes by Nan. So please introduce yourselves. Latoya, please, if you can start.
Hi, my name is Latoya Devison, and I'm an instructor at Penn West University's Clarion campus, and I'm really excited to be talking to you all about burnout today. I'm in the Library and Information Science program with the Archival Studies Division.
That's great, Nan. It's your turn. Ah, you're muted. Nan, you're muted. We can't hear you. Uh, Still muted. I think it's something with your headphones that maybe. Okay, so if I think that it would be better if you take off the headphones, maybe you can just disconnect them. We can have the 1 minute. Okay, so we will continue and then Nan will go ahead and introduce herself. So this is webinar about faculty burnout. It's important to mention that this is no longer a personal issue, but a structural one. So we're going to explore what we see usually in institutions and what it actually can be done. So we're going to talk first about the reality. Oh, I think Nan is ready to present herself. Oh my God, we can't hear you, Nan. I mean, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. I don't know what's going on because before we start the webinar, we could hear you very well. So okay, technology. Oh
Can you hear
yes, there
me?
we can hear you.
I can't hear
Yes.
you, but let me try. At least I'll talk and then I'll play. My name is Nan Nichols. I'm sorry about that. I work at Slippery Rock University. My university is a sister university to Latoya's, Penn West. We're probably physically, the schools are probably physically about an hour and a half apart. So in the western part of Pennsylvania, I've been teaching marketing for the last 14 or 15 years here at Slippery Rock, and I had a 30-year career prior to that in industry. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of my lessons learned and insights that people have shared with me.
That's great. Okay, so as the first part that we are going to talk about is the reality of burnout. So we have seen a lot of the most common issues that instructors face while they are teaching, and especially when they have more than one class. So I'm going to start with Nan here. Which of these are the more relevant and that you see more often with you and with your colleagues?
Um, a lot of what I've seen, and I think that coming from industry, I was kind of surprised at this because when I spoke in industry, everybody listened. But in the classroom, it seems that students are disengaged. And I think that that has become more prevalent since COVID in particular with Gen Z. So for me, it's more of a disengaged classroom, people being distracted by their phones or not taking notes or whatever. So that's what my what I've observed and others have observed.
What about you, Latoya?
I would say for me, it's the emotional fatigue and grading overload that I see the most. Many of my faculty colleagues always talk about how exhausted they are with trying to be all things to everyone, and also with the size of our classrooms and with grading overload with having such large classes and also having extra things thrown at you at the last minute. So it can be exhausting.
Yeah, so I'm going to take what Latoya was saying about including more things. We usually see in the universities that they decide to implement more tools, more training, and this comes back as more pressure. So, where have you seen that this help becomes another burden that contributes to your burnout? And what happens when change makes you do more work than helps you with this problem? So let's go with this one first with Latoya.
So with this one, we normally receive extra training on tools through a portal for instructors where it's assigned to you. And so it can be difficult to have to take an extra class when you're teaching a class or preparing for a new class. And so sometimes that training kind of gets put to the wayside, not because the aren't great. It's just that it's one more thing on your plate that you don't have time for when you're already stretched into 100 different directions already.
That's true. What about you, Nan?
I think that there's kind of different levels that apply to this one. One of the things that I noticed once I was a tenured full professor was being able to have a lot more choice about what it is, or feeling like I had more of a choice about what I wanted to participate in. And like Latoya was talking about, doing some of that professional development, that where I really believe that it would be of value to me and help me in the classroom. But we also have a system where certain things for certain professional types of professional development, if you get a certification or whatever, that there's an incentive. So for like a pilot program of using, say, Yellow Dig, we might get some professional development working with our Center for Teaching and Learning. We had a class, I think, session with Deborah, and those of us that participated in it get some funding that would help us maybe with professional development travel or whatever like that. And I think that that again incentivizes junior faculty, but and then it also makes it more interesting for those of us who are more senior.
Yeah, that's a great point because usually when you're looking for tools to help you don't have the time to investigate how they work on their own. You need like, but training can be like log into this platform and follow these instructions. You need a human there to help you understand how this works and what it will give you this extra help to do your job. So that's a very good point, and thank you for sharing that. So let's move in ahead. I know that you both work with instructional designers, as we all teachers do. So, how do you think a course design can help you reduce this repetitive work that we usually see and in your cognitive load, especially when you see that design is intentional? So you can stop reacting and start guiding. So in this first one, let's go with Nan first.
Yeah, so for this one, where there might be a steep learning curve, I'm willing to do it if in the long term it helps me be more efficient or effective, or be able to provide better feedback to my students, or provide them with an opportunity to learn more. My passion is being able to provide students with those kinds of opportunities in their personal and professional lives that make them different. And so I'm willing to do the extra work, and that's where I see design as a relief. It's not a relief maybe at first, but in the long term, it would be a relief.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Okay, so Latoya, what about you?
I love the streamlined look of the instructional design and working with the designer. That way, all of my classes kind of have the same look and feel. And we've kind of started using that same model where all of the classes at our university look the same for our online students. And that way, they know what to expect as they come into each classroom. There's a similar flow. And so it makes the process more seamless. It helps us answer a lot of those same questions, and it just saves a lot of time to have a design that works well. And I also like the accessibility pieces where I can see if my classroom design is accessible as well, which I appreciate because I have different learners with different needs.
I love that. I love that because that helps a lot when you're starting to understand and to continue with your process and finding things that may help you. So I know that we talked before about grading. So which task do you think that drains energy, even if they aren't time consuming? And do you think that at some point grading becomes a bottleneck for your burnout situations and for your colleagues that you have seen? This time I think it goes Latoya first. I think we went before with that. Yeah.
Yes, so definitely. I would say grading does take a lot of time and energy, and also providing feedback for your students. Because if you have if you made a B, you want to know why you got a B and maybe not an A. And so taking the time to provide robust feedback for students, and also making appointments. Prior to this call to call Nan out, she met with a student. So, you're making this time to meet and be able to have these conversations. And so all of that affects the time that you have for grading. So it can become a bit of a bottleneck for you, even though you don't mean for it to be. And it does, for me, take up most of my time.
And what about you, Nat?
Yeah, so honestly, I'm going to plug Yellow Dig on this one because on my online classes, I break my classes into small groups. So if I have a class of 40, I break them into a group of 4 or 5 students. So it's like meeting with 10 groups if I've got 40 students. And I have quite discussion intensive classes. And when Yellow Dig came along and I learned how I could use it, of the two discussions, I took one of them and I put it into Yellow Dig and was able to, someone was able to help me understand that and the grading and all of that. That was like a blessing because grading, as Latoya said, if you want to give honest feedback and be transparent, it's time consuming. And we still, because of our own my pedagogy and some of our learning outcomes, I still do some of those graded discussions on D2L. But the ones online through Yellow Dig and allow students to continue that conversation. It's worked in the classroom. It's been great that I don't have to monitor a specific kind of a discussion and give grades feedback. So that for me has been really a help in reducing some burnout.
That's amazing. Thank you for mentioning us in here, Nan, because now it came the part when I'm going to talk a little bit more about Jalvik. So I want you to share with everyone here in this webinar the difference of how it changed and it helps with burnout when you have a community-driven engagement. So I want you to share which was the switch that you see as you in your role as the instructor and from the faculty that you work with when they starting using Yalvig and before this, especially we can divide this into on-person classes and with online classes and the ones that you use for Yalvig. So in this case, I think we go first with Nan.
Yeah, this is great. And I actually teach an MBA class, and our classes are all online. So not only am I going to talk about an online part of it, but that it's the MBA community. But in the undergraduate classes where I'm meeting face to face, the thing about Yellow Dig for me was, and I've talked to others about this, is the idea of we sit around, we listen, we may have some in-class discussion or even group work, but it allowed me to encourage students to continue the conversation outside of the classroom, which is kind of how I felt like when I was, younger and in school that, we would continue talking. Now it just seems like everybody buries their face in the phone, and having this opportunity to continue the discussion, I really found that a lot of students embrace that. From the MBA perspective, because we're online and SRU is all about community, it allowed me to create a virtual community within my classroom. And my goal is to create a virtual community for the whole MBA program. So again, I took conversations that were going on in my discussion groups, my discussion forums. I moved some of them to the Yellow Dig forum. And I was amazed by how the graduate students really embraced it and took off. And they were talking to students that weren't in their groups. And so it did have more of a community outside of their group. So they got to know the 3 or 4 people in their group, but then they also got to reach out maybe to other students that they had other classes with or pick their brains, or it was great.
That sounds incredible because they can also relate outside your class and know someone when they're going into another class, and that is like helping to the belonging part of the institution and feeling like you are part, even though if you're just online. How about you, Latoya?
I love the platform. So I love using Yellow Dig. My class is much more engaged. I have all graduate students. We're in a completely online program, and it's a big international group of students. And what I love about it is the ability for them to create polls, to be able to share their site experiences, because we have a big site project that we do, because we're working with historical materials. And so what I love is that the students kind of take each other on tours, and they also support each other with different projects and platforms, which I think is great. I love the user engagement, and I also love when they share videos, because we're in an online environment where they can be able to put faces with names. So I love that aspect of it. And the students have given me feedback that they really like using the platform as well, which I appreciate. My engagement for courses has gone up drastically, especially because I teach some of the difficult, more techie subjects. So it's a great way to kind of get them to try new tools, talk, and also I put trivia in the lectures that also helps them play and have fun on Yellow Dig and make the subject more interesting for them. So I like that aspect.
That's great. And I would love you to share also, what was the main reason that help you and impulse you to use Yellow, but connect it into your burnout. I mean, in one point when you were doing your classes, did you feel this burnout that we are talking about? And how do you think that using a tool like Yellow help you to relieve this kind of pressure and this kind of feeling? So I think now we go first with Latoya.
So with using Yellow Dig, I love that it helps take the students away from the traditional discussion board. We still use that, but they are much more engaged with Yellow Dig. It's because it has a social media look to it, look and feel. I think that makes it more exciting, especially for our younger students, because it's a platform that's more familiar to them. And I also like that we have this, I can sync it to my grade book, so it saves me a lot of time with grading. And I have the points parameters already set for them before the semester starts, and it just saves me so much more time where I can participate in the class more fully and not spend as much time kind of checking to make sure all of the points are there for the traditional discussion board. And I like that they are more interested this way. I found the engagement is much higher than using the traditional discussion board. So we still use one in class, but the course discussions happen with Yellow Dig. And I use the traditional discussion board for if they have questions like I don't understand this assignment or I have these questions, that goes to that discussion board. Then it's where Yellow Dig is kind of where we can have the fun readings, discussions, or hey, I found this interesting thing I want to share. So that's kind of where we do all of that on Yellow Dig. And I just love that it saves me so much more time with grading.
I love that. How about you, Nan?
Well, I have to tell you, I was a little bit selfish on this one because I too was kind of burned out on just the traditional discussion board discussions. So I probably was a naysayer when I first was introduced to this. And once I found it, I really embraced it. And here I am talking about it. But it allowed me to also see students have a different way of thinking and interacting. And as Latoya said, more of a social media. I'm not big into social media, but students are. And it was really great from that perspective. I think that that's why they kind of embraced it. Even my MBA students, but I think a big thing was that I enjoyed seeing a conversation that was different, not just that contrived because I did it. I still do the D2L ones like Latoya talked about. I use those for learning outcome specific things. And then more of the Yellow Dig for continuing that conversation or bringing in other ideas.
That's great. I love how you combine the things to help you and to understand really what students are learning in your class. That's amazing. So, moving forward into the subject that we were talking about. So, what institutions can actually do? So, I would like here so you to can share the recommendations that you have seen that works, not just with Yaudig that we've talked about, but other things that you have seen that works to help faculty reduce the overload and to this feeling of burnout. So, I think this time we go first with Latoya, please.
So for this one, we did a faculty department meeting where we talked about the tools that we were using, and Yellow Dig was one of the tools that was featured. So all of our faculty are not using it, but they were more excited about using it after seeing that we have this tool that we can use. It made it less intimidating and that, less of one more thing to do. So I like that, and so it replaces that traditional discussion board model, and it also makes it more fun for the students, but also for us as well. Like Nan said, the traditional discussion board, sometimes we get burnt out as well from reading, 20, art like papers essentially in the discussion board. And so it made the class more fun for us as well. And I like that gamification aspect where it keeps things interesting. So I enjoy that too. But I think having the spaces like this is helpful. And I also love that there's a community aspect there where you can create a separate community for like all of like Fernand's group. All of the MBA students could have their own platform, or for us, the ALA student chapter can have its own group. And I think that that kind of gives them a sense of place where they can continue those conversations away from the class, but that there's an extra place for them that's special, especially in an online environment. I like that it kind of encourages the engagement. So those are some things that institutions can do. And I also love like webinars like this where you can talk and share about how these things are working for you.
Yeah, I understand that's great. That is so true. Nan, go ahead, please.
Well, I think that leaders that can encourage us to do things like this by leading by example and allowing people to lead by example. So that's one thing. Um, I love that our management does encourage us to participate in these things and incentivize us. So not that we should have to be paid for everything, but that does make it nice, especially when you want to do professional development in other ways. So that we can, have some extra money maybe to do some other professional development. But I think that, again, it's hard. Like if you're doing a whole bunch of things and if you're not tenured or you're junior faculty looking for a promotion, I think that uh, and management and leaders have to be aware that there's invisible labor, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on, and they really have to make it kind of worth it. And if we're testing a whole bunch of things all at the same time, then it kind of gets lost in the noise. So I think that it would be good for institutions to think about that. And I don't know about what it can replace, but I think anybody that has a Center for Teaching and Learning and course design, this is where the money kind of, really, I think there's leverage and payoff.
That's great. So I love this. I love the conversation. I love that you could share of your experiences and what you think that has worked for you in this topic. So I'm just going to open up to see if we have any questions from our participants. So let's see if anyone has any question, and if they don't, then we can just thank them and we can just end this webinar. So let's just give them a couple of minutes. And while we wait, I don't know if you have anything that you would like to share additional to share with our panel and with our attendees about the burnout and how you really started to see in reality happening and taking it serious as it is a very serious topic that we need to start acknowledging. So I don't know if you want to add anything additional. I think we go with Nan first.
I mean, burnout is a real thing. I mean, maybe we don't want to admit it. I'm glad that you're talking about it. I'm glad that others are participating so that they're also thinking about it. We feel it, even though, we don't necessarily speak it. I've been reading a lot more even about students being burned out. So I think we have to acknowledge our own burnout so that we can acknowledge their burnout. But if you don't acknowledge yours, then you better sure acknowledge theirs, because I think that they're burned out. And I think anything that we can do to make their learning experiences more rich, I think that that's good. I love Latoya talks about gamification. I think that that's not going to go away. That doesn't work for my generation, but I am positive that it worked for, my daughters who are in their 40s, probably early in gamification, and I think Gen Z today, and my granddaughter who's, the next generation. So.
Yeah, that is true. And I know that we talked about this. So go ahead, Latoya, please.
With the invisible labor that Nan mentioned, that is a big thing. We put so many hours in that people don't see with writing recommendation letters for our students or doing extra training so that we can show up better for them. All of that kind of takes a toll sometimes because, like Nan said, if we can't acknowledge our own burnout, then we can't also help them as well. Most of our students are also parents, especially because I have older students. They have full-time jobs, part-time jobs. They're on a job hunt, they're searching. And so, as an instructor, we're kind of also dealing with those and wearing those same hats. And so, just remembering that they're people, we're also people as well, and just kind of giving them time. I do try to think about the quality of the assignments so that I'm not giving unnecessary busy work to avoid burnout for my students as well. So, I do kind of take those things into consideration with my course design too.
Okay, I see that we have a question here in the chat. It says, when I taught at the college level, a source of frustration for me was the lack of support by institution. I could take the other challenges when I felt supported by my dean. So, which one of you wants to comment about this? Nan, Latoya.
Oh, I can jump in. I was just gonna say I totally agree with them 100%. Having that support does help and it does make you feel I guess more like it makes you feel just like you can do it, like you're more supported, like you know that someone else understands the struggle that you're going through. And also too, knowing that they have your back does mean a great deal. When you don't have the institutional support, sometimes as an instructor, you kind of feel like you're on an island by yourself. The students have a lot of support. And but as an instructor, sometimes there are not those systems in place to help you. So we have places we can send students if they're burnt out, but we don't have as many resources as instructors for how to deal with that on our end. So having that support is important.
Yeah, I can totally echo that because when I started this Yellow Dig, we had a different dean than what we do now. I so wish we'd have had the dean we currently have because he is definitely a change maker. Deans can only encourage us or make suggestions, and they can't make us do things. But he has the knack. The previous one would send out a memo or whatever, and you'd have to figure out whether it was worth doing or not. And then if you did it, you were never acknowledged for it. You had to be doing it from an intrinsic perspective. I still do it intrinsically, but I think that there are people that need both. So I think it's great to have support and put your money where your mouth is, like those kinds of things for development and stuff like that. I think AI is going to be the next big push on that area. So I'll be curious to see how this dean supports that.
I see that we have a question here directly for what you said, and here it says, how did you gamify your class?
I haven't gamified my classes the way that Latoya has, so let's let her talk because I think that she
Okay,
mentioned it
go
several
ahead,
times.
Yeah.
Latoya.
I
So I
really did
do.
embrace social media, so that was really fun.
So I have a video game assignment that I do with my digital preservation class where they have to preserve these video games. And so they are going to an emulator that sets the computer up like the 1980s. And so I always tease them and say the save icon is a floppy disk to date myself a little bit. And so what I'll do is I have them try these games out and they'll talk about their experiences on Yellow Dig. And certain systems have issues, so I always wait for the systems that have a problem and we troubleshoot together, which is fun. And also another way we gamify the class is I include hidden trivia in the lectures, and that's to make sure that they're listening to the lectures. And so the ones who they get bonus points with Yellow Dig because we have accolades. And so I'll ask questions and say, "Tell me on Yellow Dig about your experience." So that's embedded within the lecture, and that way I can check and see who paid attention, who's listening, and also too they really try like to compete for the trivia, which is fun. So if people say, "What are they doing trivia?" So the ones who haven't watched the lecture, they'll be like, "Oh, what point they're getting points," and so they kind of jump in to kind of see what everyone's talking about. And so it kind of creates that sense of FOMO too with the having the gamification aspect. And so they really like that. And they enjoy kind of the competition part with it, but not like where they're competing against each other, but just kind of like thinking of different topics. And it also pushes them to kind of think outside of the box, which for our profession, we're doing a lot of troubleshooting. Sometimes you have funding issues and you do have to think outside of the box to be able to create effective community engagement with the public as well. So
I want to be Latoya when I grow up. I'm going to come sit in Latoya's next time she's doing some of this gamification and starting from scratch. I'm going to ask her to invite me in because I love it. I think that it's great. I don't have no idea where to start.
It's fun.
I
They
was
like
I
it.
was about to say the same thing. We're going to have her giving us another webinar about gamifying your classes because it sounds like fun. I want to attend your class now.
They have
So
a good time. They have a good time. They told me they enjoy it. So I do that with the intro class, especially with dry topics to make it more fun. Because I teach all of the hard, like, sometimes like the not fun classes. So I try to make them exciting.
yeah, I can understand that because yeah, I mean sometimes there are some topics in classes that are not necessarily easy to teach nor to learn. So when you have these aspects to help them engage, it's great. So thank you for sharing this with us, Natalia, today. So I think we don't have any more questions. So I'm just going to say thank you to all for joining us. It has been a great conversation. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any more additional questions. Our friends from Client Success are going to share their emails in the chat, so you can just directly talk with them and see if you have any more questions about Yellow League. And thank you so much for giving us your time and for joining this webinar. It has been a great conversation, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you again.